99, 98, 97, 96. Just slowly counting back to 100, and I'm just going to give him a little love here. Let him go.
Hang on, okay.
How do you know that the person that you've entrusted to teach you to defend yourself is the right person for you? You see, sometimes people don't know any different. They join their local martial arts school thinking that they're going to learn how to defend themselves. They're going to learn self-defense. But unfortunately, just because the school is local doesn't mean that the school is best for you. In fact, it doesn't always mean that they have the best methods or even your needs at heart. For example, you're a middle-aged guy, you walk into a school to make an inquiry for self-defense classes. You've got a young, fit instructor, and he says to you, well, the best way to get you ready for a fight is to teach you to take a punch. And then, as an exhibition of bravado, his students line up against the wall, and he proceeds to punch each and every one of them in the face. Not lightly, but hard. They don't fight back, they stand there and they take the punches. Now what are they learning? Well, you could say they're learning to take a punch. You could say it's a form of mentality training. I wouldn't agree with that. I think punching your students and not allowing them to punch you back is probably taking advantage of your position. Now, if you've never been in a martial arts school, you would think that's normal practice. Perhaps you might be a little insane to think that was normal practice, but you might actually think it's acceptable. And this is why it's important to have an acceptable practices, to know what the red flags are, whether a specific instructor is the right instructor for you. There are many red flags with bad martial arts instructors. For example, those that teach theory but can't show real application to violent encounters. Instructors that don't spar or don't believe that sparring is important. Teachers that say that their way is the only way. Sometimes I refer to them as the brainwasher or the cultists. You see this in many different martial arts styles. A person that is closed-minded is not the person that you can learn from, especially if they can't learn themselves, because they're not setting an example of what works and what doesn't work. If an individual teacher takes the approach that my martial art is the only martial art that works, then how possibly could they help you? So what should a good coach do? Well, I think lead by example. Practice what they preach. Never expect others to do something they can't do themselves. Micro-training is important. Yes, they should train with their students to a certain degree, but keep it above their level. Most importantly, I think a good martial art coach should develop mental toughness, resilience, and emotional stability. These are key for preparing people to deal with violent encounters. If your coach is unable to contribute to your mental toughness, to help your mental stability, to coach you through the bad times, to help you deal with fear and violence, then essentially they're not preparing you for self-defense. So what's the takeaway? Well, if your martial art coach feels that the best way to train you is to hit you, you have a problem. Remember, a good coach will teach by example, but positively reinforce mistakes with careful attention. A good coach may hit their students to remind them, but they won't beat them up. Remember, problems arise when instructors become competitive with their students, and this is a major red flag. Now, I think a good martial art teacher should have a balance. You should have sufficient leadership qualities. A leader sets an example by modelling appropriate behaviour. Leadership requires that you take care of the needs of others. You put their needs before yours. Given a typical sparring situation, you would expect that someone that had your needs ahead of theirs would be watching the class, would be watching you rather than sparring with you and being competitive. That's the teacher, that's the coach that will actually be walking around and helping you. Sure, if he is sparring with you, he'll be giving you techniques, he'll be feeding you techniques and allowing you to move around and practice. he'll be working at your level, not his level. Because it's not a power trip, but it's an opportunity to help you. A good martial art teacher would recognise the inclusive nature of martial arts training. Now, there are many martial arts schools that consistently turn out champion fighters, but the common factor is not often the characteristics of the individual fighters, but the coaches themselves. The difference between a good fighter and a bad fighter is often a good coach, or a good or bad coach. This makes all the difference when training for a violent encounter. Thanks for watching.